The Golden State Warriors, they might be back. Are the Warriors on the rise? Was the win in Minnesota and the recent success a fluke? I'm going to tell you which one of those things the Warriors fit into. It's a Monday Night Live edition of Locked On Warriors. It was supposed to be Mondays and normally reserved for Kylan Mills. She's going to join me tomorrow after the Warriors-Mavericks game. But for tonight, I'm going to take chat questions and again recap that dominating Warriors victory over the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, one of my favorite sponsors. They're all my favorites, but PrizePicks, I'm developing a relationship with you, so it's fun to also promote them. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code Locked On. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow. Again, Kylan Mills will join me tomorrow. We'll have a live show after the Warriors-Mavericks game. Hopefully, the Warriors' road woes will continue becoming a thing of the past. I wanted to talk about the Warriors and Timberwolves game, though, and just the latest state of affairs with this team. It wasn't that long ago when a lot of people were hitting that panic button. There was a lot of people frazzled over the poor start by the Warriors. I believe they were, 8-10? They were 1-9 on the road. Yeah, things weren't good, but a lot's changed since those dark days. I mean, the Warriors still have a ways to go to kind of quell the anxiety and the nervousness and the potential despair coming out of Dub Nation, but they're on the right track. I want to review a few things that really represent why they've turned things around, what's going great for them, what could still maybe improve. But look, the Western Conference it's wild this year. No pun intended. Okay, the Phoenix Suns are in first place with a 13-6 record. They look like the Suns of the last couple of years. They're playing great basketball. There's no doubt about that. But again, we've seen this before, right? Regular season Suns. But when you look down to the standings, right? The Nuggets are in second. They're a game back. The Grizzlies are in third, a game and a half back. The Pelicans are fourth. They're tied with the Clippers. The Warriors relatively easily beat at home. The Sacramento Kings are in sixth place, 2.5 games back. The Portland Trailblazers, who had that red-hot start, are now sitting 11-9. They've lost 6 of their last 10. They're in seventh. The Utah Jazz, I swear I just blinked and they were in first place in the West. They're now 8th with the 12-10 mark. They've lost 7 of their last 10. And guess who's in 9th place in the Western Conference? The Golden State Warriors, the defending world champions. And the reason why I bring up the standings is because the Warriors, for whatever you want to think about that horrible start to the season, and look, that road record is still just 2-9 right now. So they've got a ways to go to let people know that the old Warriors, the defending world champion Warriors, are back, right? But they're only 3 games behind the Suns for the best record in the West. 3! They're only 2 wins behind the Phoenix Suns in the win-loss record. So the Warriors are fine in that regard. So whatever concerns you might have about whether or not they have to be play in the play-in tournament, whether they have to lose home court, those worries could be gone by the end of the season, then some. By the way, Kylan Mills, again, if you tune in a little late, will join me tomorrow after the Mavericks show, after the Mavericks game, I'm sorry. So hello everyone, by the way. This is a live show. I'm taking a look at the chat right now. But I just want to introduce some stats real quick, just letting you know just how amazing the Warriors have been playing. And I want to reduce your concerns because, folks, this Golden State Warriors team is on the way back. They're not there yet, but they're on the way back. They're, in my opinion, still the favorites to repeat as world champions. There's one game on the calendar that I am circling with a metaphorical, massive, huge red Sharpie pen, and that's December 10th. The Warriors are at home. It's going to be a nationally televised Saturday night game against the Boston Celtics. It's an NBA Finals rematch. The Celtics have started this season on fire. And by the way, Ime Udoka, talk about his stock dropping and plummeting. A lot of people thought the Celtics were done without their beleaguered former head coach, but they're fine without him. And Ime, I don't know, Ime was about to be the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Now he's just kind of hanging out, just waiting for someone to call. But the Celtics are 16-4 on the year. They're playing damn good basketball. And when December 10th rolls around, that's a game I'm going to pay very close attention to. That's going to be a huge, huge game. The regular season to me has certain games in it that bear strong relevancy simply because, look, the players are human. And when you look at the Golden State Warriors, for example, and I think we're all familiar if you've tuned into this show consistently and followed the team consistently. Yeah, energy manifests, by the way. Yeah, I'm totally with you with the optimism. But, there's a recurring theme, which is that the Warriors just don't take the regular season that seriously, right? They've been there and done that over and over and over again. That's why they're called a dynasty, right? But there's still certain games on that schedule that have a lot of meaning. And the players, they're human beings. They see those games too. And as the Warriors continue to improve and as the Warriors continue to show themselves and the rest of the world that they're coming back, they're reverting to the form that has brought them immense success, there are going to be certain games that even they're very cognizant of. And one of those is that December 10th game against the Celtics. Not only is that the team that they probably consider to be the toughest team they've ever played in the playoffs, and maybe rightfully so, but the Celtics are red hot. Both those teams are going to rise up to the occasion, and that's a game that I'm going to be really judging the Warriors on. Like if they come out flat for that game, if they get stomped in that game, and like DiVincenzo Duo, for example, writes, what do you think they should do with Wiseman? No Cap writes, we still have to make a trade. If the Warriors lay an egg on December 10th, that's when I think you might start hearing trade rumors that might have some basis of validity behind it. Until then, with the team improving this last week or so, with the team starting to turn around, with the team starting to find rotations that are symbolic of success, I don't think they're going to be making trades. I don't think they're going to be going down the trade route right now. I think they're actually happy with the team they have. And there's a few reasons for that. One is JaMychal Green, a player who had a really slow start, a player who fell completely out of the rotation after that disastrous 0-5 road trip. Not only is he back in the rotation, but he's playing some damn good ball as the team's backup five. He has cemented himself in that role. And in that Timberwolves game, and again, I'm going to highlight three players in that game who really stuck out. And the stats may not show that. And JaMychal Green is one of them, but they really played a huge part in that. JaMychal Green played 14 minutes in that Timberwolves game. Had 4 shot attempts, made 3 of them. I think all 3 were either dunks or bully ball type inside layups, right? There were tough baskets that he just made look easy. But he was a plus 9 in the stat sheet. Those 6 points were huge. And the Warriors have found their backup center, right? And that takes a ton of pressure off Wiseman, a lot. Now Wiseman can sit in Santa Cruz, do his thing, have no pressure or very little pressure. He's probably going to be with the Santa Cruz Warriors until December, January. Just wouldn't surprise me if that's the case. He needs the reps. He's not going to get the reps of the Golden State Warriors. So why not stay with Santa Cruz, get the experience? A lot of people allude to Jordan Poole 2 years ago. Happy story there. Happy ending to that story, sorry. And the same could fit for James Wiseman. So JaMychal Green has been huge. The next player and the third one's going to be, he's been talked about a lot lately. I've talked about him a lot, but we'll get to him in a second. The second player that really stuck out in that Timberwolves game, and this is a player that is grossly underrated in terms of the Warriors' success this year, and that's Donte DiVincenzo. Donte DiVincenzo, the Warriors, when they play him, are 9-4 this season, and they're just 2-6 without him. He's huge. When you talk about the veterans of the Warriors lost last year, Gary Payton II, Otto Porter Jr., Nemanja Bjelica, Damian Lee, Juan Toscano Anderson, Donte DiVincenzo clearly has been the closest thing in terms of productivity and success when it comes to replicating what those veterans did that they no longer are doing because they all got let go or moved on. Donte DiVincenzo has been huge. And DRN, Louisiana Animal, I promise I will touch on Draymond Green later in the show. Naomi, hello. No Cap says, I think Moody should be sent to Santa Cruz too. Maybe to get time, yeah. But Donte DiVincenzo has been massive. As long as DiVincenzo plays, the Warriors' second unit has stability to it, has experience to it, and the dude can ball, man. One of the best things about him, and we knew about this in regards to Donte DiVincenzo coming into this season, he plays defense. All right, he's committed to it, man. He is a pest on the defensive side of the floor. He's clearly not Gary Payton II in terms of dominance individually, but he can play. And I want to give him a shout out because he played great in that Timberwolves game. Just going over the stat sheet right now, 18 minutes of play, 14 points, and he was 4 of 8 from 3. His three-point shot's been a pleasant addition to this Warriors team. And I'll touch on the third player in just a second. And AC writes is a back-to-back game in Houston on Saturday that you're hoping they could at least get Wiseman in there. Maybe, but again, there's a very, just don't be surprised if he stays in Santa Cruz. He might be there until January. They might consider that to be a great fit for him. He's putting up good numbers right now. And again, I will cover that third player that has been really stepping it up for the Warriors and has made a huge difference in just a moment. First, got to give some love to Turo. And look, the pandemic, one of the many weird effects of the pandemic has been a car shortage. And that's largely because of manufacturing issues in regards to computer chips. It's really weird. It's really lame because it's so hard to find a car. And that's where Turo is potential salvation. Turo is the world's largest car sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want, wherever you want it, from a community of local hosts. Browse a huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget across the US, UK, Canada, and now Australia. Book a spacious SUV or minivan for a family road trip. You can get a classic luxury car for a special event, maybe a birthday, a holiday. You can find affordable economy cars for on a budget and just need to get from point A to point B. You could test drive that new electric vehicle that you might have had your eye on to see how it fits into your everyday style and life. Many Turo hosts can even deliver the car right to you. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Forget boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen today. After me, go check out Locked On Sports today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports today. It's available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. What's going on in the chat? Is anyone saying anything new before I resume? Oh, Divanshu Dua with a very, very naughty and not a very nice nickname for Warriors second-year player Jonathan Kuminga. I will not repeat that, but those of you watching on YouTube and part of the live stream can read that funny yet kind of insulting nickname for Jonathan Kuminga. But Kuminga was the third name I was going to drop just because he is finally, I think and I hope, consistently playing now for the Golden State Warriors in terms of rotation minutes. I don't like the fact that some people think that I don't like Anthony Lamb. I have nothing against him. Okay, the Lamb Chop is a Warrior. I don't want him cut. I don't want him gone. All I do want is Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. I believe this with conviction that they should get minutes before Lamb. That's my only criticism there. Simply because they're better players. They're more talented. They're more athletic. And you need these players to develop come postseason. Okay. Kuminga is coming along. He had a great game in Minnesota. And over the last couple of weeks, he is showing that defensively and that when it comes to grabbing rebounds, he belongs. Okay. Statistically, he didn't have a great game yesterday. All right. Scored 7 points. It's nothing to write about. In 20 minutes of play, he was 0 for 2 from beyond the arc, put up 2 3-point attempts. I love the attempts. He was wide open. Shoot those, kid. You got to make those. But he had 6 rebounds and 2 blocks. And those blocks were savage, by the way. Most importantly, in those 20 minutes, only 2 personal fouls. It was a plus 8 and the plus minus. And he balled, man. He had a couple monster dunks. His athleticism is so crazy that on more than one occasion this year, when he goes up for dunks, his head is hitting the backboard. He actually has to be careful not to knock his own ass out. That's how athletic he is, man. The kid's a freak of nature when it comes to his athleticism. And I just absolutely love the fact that he's playing now because right now, Kerr has developed a second unit. What he's done, and it's working. All right. It's, the experiment has been experimented. Safe to say we know what the result is. All right. When you take out Draymond Green a little earlier than you have been, and instead use those minutes with the second unit, and usually that's at the end of the first quarter, second quarter especially, it's been working. Draymond Green has been a salve for that second unit. Whew, right? I mean, that's a relief because that bench was a disaster for this season. I don't think it's just Draymond that has made a difference. Again, Donte DiVincenzo in games where he plays, they're 9-4, right? So they're winning when DiVincenzo plays, and they're just getting better, than they were before, obviously. But Jonathan Kuminga has earned those minutes. He's playing aggressive. You're not seeing him kind of just drift off and space out and watch players just run by him. No, he is attentive. He's where he needs to be. He's being aggressive. He's not committing stupid fouls. You have to love what Kuminga's bringing. And let's just hope that the next step in this process is Moses Moody, right? Because Moses Moody is a great player. I saw some people on Twitter say things about like maybe this is all part of Kerr's master plan that he intentionally was playing the 2A players to let a fire under Kuminga and Moody and but by presenting a threat to their minutes and their position that maybe the competition will bring out the best in them. And maybe I think that's a wild psychological mechanism there that you're implementing. It's such a complicated plan to implement. If that's true, bravo. I just really question if that's really what Kerr is doing here. But regardless, let's get Moses Moody out there. Mac Bolin writes, a second unit still needs more experience on defense. There's always mistakes when they're too eager to help out. This is true. Yeah, absolutely. And they forget who they're guarding, but they're cleaning that up. That is the great news. And some of that is Kuminga being more aggressive. Again, DiVincenzo does not make he doesn't make mistakes defensively. He's a fantastic defensive player. You're seeing JaMychal Green now getting settled into the rotation with that second unit. Again, as long as he is not counted on to shoot 3-pointers, they're fine. And JaMychal Green and Draymond Green playing together, they just have a natural chemistry that it's a double dose of nastiness, of toughness. So the JaMychal Green thing, a part of this is huge. But Draymond Green is massive for that second unit. There's no doubt. And it's not just the defense. It's also the fact that he's a magnificent facilitator. So when you have units out there that has, like, let's say Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, Donte DiVincenzo, Jonathan Kuminga, and JaMychal Green, that's your five. Let me repeat this again, so without me stumbling over it. When their back second unit five consists of Draymond Green, Donte DiVincenzo, Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, and JaMychal Green, they're doing fine. They got size, they got athleticism, they've got a great combination of offense and defense. They're stoked. So, and Coast to Coast writes, the Warriors can only beat the Celtics if they get 75% of their rebounds on both sides of the court. And again, that's improving as well. Case in point, yesterday against the Timberwolves, a Timberwolves team that, by the way, I do not understand trading for Gobert. That was wild, man. They gave up so much to get Gobert on that team, and for what? It's a huge team. With that front court, with the Twin Towers out there, that's a big unit. And the Warriors, despite that, still out-rebounded 47-31. 8 offensive rebounds for the Warriors, 6 for the Timberwolves. Even the rebounding is getting there, and rebounding is a huge part of defense, by the way. Shane West writes, how come I do not see Pat Spencer anymore in Santa Cruz? Kevin Daniel will join the show on Wednesday. We'll tackle that. I have no idea. I actually was not aware that he wasn't playing with the team anymore. That's news to me. If Pat Spencer is no longer with Santa Cruz, Shane, we will have answers for you on Wednesday with Kevin Dana. But this Warriors team is back on track, and Draymond Green with the second unit is huge. And we'll have a lot more to talk about after I give some love to PrizePicks. Let me get my overlay going here. I'm having fun with PrizePicks, by the way, folks. It is fun. You can, if you live in California, it's legal, and the withdrawals are super easy. The deposits are super easy. And again, it's all about over-unders with individual players. You got to pick a minimum of 2 players. They can be on the same team. That's a rule change, but I'm starting to adapt to that, and I'm starting to find success again. And you're just picking over-unders, right? It's 2 to 6 players. You pick, are they going to score over a certain amount of points, under a certain amount of points? Like Stephen Curry, his incredible offensive output this year has resulted in a lot of wins for me with PrizePicks. Thank you, Steph. And you're not competing against other people. It's just you versus those over-unders. Again, it's legal in California. Suddenly makes watching any sport that much more interesting. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less with the app. It is insanely easy. Download the PrizePicks app. Go to PrizePicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. And if you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. And if you deposit just $50, if you only deposit $25, they'll match whatever amount you put in. You just have to remember to put in the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. And again, if you're tuning into this show live and late, Kylan Mills will join me tomorrow. We're going to have a live show immediately following the Warriors-Mavericks game. So a live post-game edition of Locked On Warriors. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. Barkinelli, what's up? Oliver G writes, Pat Spencer's injured. So I hope that answers. Someone was asking about that. Coast to Coast writes, anytime. Oh, and Coast to Coast, you and I are absolutely. Wait a second, AC, Baba Booey. You can't distract me with the Baba Booey, Fa Fufa. You can't do that, man. So Coast to Coast writes, I've said this plenty of times. Jonathan Kuminga, if he plays at least 15 to 20 minutes per game, they win. True. This is one of my mantras for the Golden State Warriors, that the more Kuminga plays, the more good things happen. Okay, Jonathan Kuminga, I love the kid. I don't know when he's going to become a superstar in this game. I see parts of like the low end of Jonathan Kuminga is Sean Marion. Like the worst case scenario for Jonathan Kuminga is Sean Marion. You want to know what best case scenario is? Kobe freaking Bryant. Could be that good. I cannot. It's hard for me to contain my excitement about the fact that Jonathan Kuminga will be a Golden State Warrior for the next 15 to 20 years, because this kid is going to be a superstar, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. I want to play some sound, though, pertaining to Draymond Green, just to finish up on talking about him. Again, there's no denying it, okay? I had Athletic Alchemy on the show last week, and I love that experience because him and I are like simpatico in terms of what we believe with the Warriors. We're on the same page. And one of the topics that we were in complete agreement on was Draymond Green. His defense has regressed. Okay. Like there's no denying that. If you actually study his game, even the measurables confirm that. But despite the fact that his defense has regressed, it's not a huge regression. He's still one of the best players in the NBA. The Warriors clearly still need him. And he is making up for the slight regression on defense with fantastic offense. In that Timberwolves game, he had 19 points, 11 assists. He worked on his offensive game this offseason. If you follow this team, if you watch the clips, you saw Draymond Green in the gym a lot, working on his shot, working on his attacking the rim, and the results are showing. So here is a soundbite from head coach Steve Kerr saying that Draymond is playing at an all-star level. I agree.
Well, I've said for years Draymond is kind of the heartbeat of our team. He's the guy who kind of makes everything go, and he's the motivator. He's the bully. Who protects his teammates on the floor and talks trash, but this guy is just so good at basketball. I mean, it's like when you just look at the total game. I know people focus on his defense, but he had 11 assists tonight, no turnovers. His defense, he was all over the place defensively. He looked to attack. He scored 19 points. He is having a tremendous season, all-star caliber play, and taking care of his body, really making sure he gets his work in every day. Draymond has been fantastic.
Yeah, no doubt about that. He has been absolutely fantastic. And again, the offensive numbers are reflecting that in terms of the work he put in this offseason. Clearly, that team meeting that happened a week and a half, 2 weeks ago has made a profound difference with this team. You could see a Warriors team that was discombobulated, that had no chemistry, that had no joy. Who knows what happened in that meeting? Who knows who led it? Who knows what the quote unquote elephants in the room were? We all have our suspicions, but regardless, it worked. I mean, they're all on the same page now. Everyone's playing lights out ball. And one thing I saw that stuck out to me a lot, right? And I love paying attention to the nuance because sometimes that's where the game is. At the end of the game, Draymond Green was called for a technical foul, right? He was celebrating. I forgot whose shot it was. And he got teed up for, I guess, being overly exuberant. I don't know what the specifics were in terms of his technical, but here first let's play this clip from Draymond, where he was talking about that technical and maybe explaining why he got it, because I'm still a little confused about that. So here's Draymond Green.
Celebration technical at the end of the game.
Crazy, man. I don't know. I don't know. I probably got like 4 texts this year that's a little questionable, but.
Nice to have Steph having your back.
Absolutely. 100%. He told me I was at the lane line. I thought I was standing in the corner, so I don't know. Sucks, though. It's the NBA, man. Your teammates make a good move. I didn't affect the play. Like, there's no one near me. So sucks. And the fact that that's going to count against my tech count, like, come on, it's ridiculous. but whatever. It is what it is.
So
It was absolutely ridiculous. It absolutely was. I mean, but what I saw in that play was, and all of you, I'm sure, saw that too if you watched the game. And if you didn't watch it, what happened is Stephen Curry decided to have an excessive celebration of his own directly following that. And basically as a sign of support for Draymond, letting anyone watching know, like, he's my boy. This is absurd. It was just a clear sign of camaraderie between the two. And so Stephen Curry also got a technical foul for an excessive celebration. And on this show, and on a lot of shows, the topic of Draymond Green being traded has been brought up. I highly doubt he's going to be traded now. If that showed me anything, it's that Stephen Curry loves Draymond Green as much as ever. And really, until the Draymond punch on Jordan Poole, there was never any doubt in my mind that Stephen Curry loves Draymond Green and is loyal to the end with him. But you saw Steph get irritated when that event happened, and for a little while there, I didn't see those public signs of support that I was accustomed to, and seeing that made me. I didn't really think they were going to trade Draymond to begin with. It was an idea that when the Warriors were struggling, we entertained, partly because, look, we're just, this is a show. We're supposed to have some fun here and broach a lot of different subjects, but Draymond Green is not going anywhere. That just cemented in my mind and eliminated any possibility of Draymond going anywhere. Now, Mac Boland, I have your comment highlighted here because you write, quote, Jonathan Kuminga is good, no doubt about it. And he's going to get better. That's one of the best parts. But the second unit defense still needs some work. Yeah, possibly. It's starting to show a lot of improvement. The Warriors can't sustain having the vets play 35-plus minutes all throughout the season. That's a great point. And that's been a point of contention for me for a while, right? That's been one of my complaints. It's like, what do you can't play these guys just like you wrote, 35, 40 minutes a game and wear them out so that they have nothing left in the tank come the postseason, come April. But here's where my concerns about that are deviated quite a bit. One is the Warriors lead the league in back-to-back games this season at 15. And what we've seen happen, I believe, twice now, they played 4 back-to-backs. They have 11 more to go. And 2 of the 4 back-to-backs, Kerr decided to bench pretty much everyone in terms of the starting 5, right? Curry, Clay, Draymond, Wiggins, they sat out. And Looney played really sparse minutes, mostly just to keep his consecutive game streak intact, right? But if you're resting your key players, your key veterans for all of those back-to-backs on the second half, that's 13 to 15 games where you're literally resting your vets, right? And so when I calculate that into it, and I really hope Kerr continues this pattern of not just resting Klay Thompson, because it's already been announced Klay's not going to play the back-to-backs. He's only going to play one of the 2. But if Kerr continues the pattern that he exercised in New Orleans, which is that he's going to bench the entire starting 5 or play Looney maybe sparse minutes, right? Just to, again, keep his streak intact, they should be okay. And they're not playing always 35-plus minutes. I think that number will go down a little bit as the season progresses because you're going to see Kuminga hopefully get more minutes. JaMychal Green, Kerr is starting to become comfortable with. You're going to see him get more minutes. Donte DiVincenzo, is taking up about 20 minutes a game. Again, Anthony Lamb, to me, again, I'm nothing against him personally. I think he's played a decent role so far this season, at least being as a stopgap while Kerr is doing whatever he's doing to be happy playing the youngsters. But I do think with Kuminga's increased minutes, I'm hoping Moses Moody is next on the list in terms of Kerr just relaxing a little bit and loosening that leash and giving him minutes as well, because I'm very confident that Moses Moody can also produce quality minutes. But ultimately, my fears of the veterans being exhausted and wiped out from playing so many games this year, so many minutes this year, again, I'm not overly concerned now just because it does seem like Kerr is using those back-to-backs as an excuse to sit most of his star players 10 plus games this season. And that's a large number. That's a good number to in terms of overall minutes in a season. By the way, Dylan Odom writes, Lamb has gotten better since he has played more. That's not true at all. If you look at his numbers over the last 4 games, for example, I think he scored, I think, a combined total of 4 points in 3 games. His plus minus in the Timberwolves game was a team worst minus 14. The only other player who was in the minus was DiVincenzo at minus 8. And DiVincenzo is an example of where the plus minus, you can't always read into it. But Lamb, again, I've been watching him with keen observation just because I'm very curious to see what Kerr is seeing in him. And in 3 of the last 4 games, he's been a disaster, both defensively in terms of other players shooting over him with ease. Most players who are 6'5" do not make it in the NBA as a power forward. Not Draymond Green is an exception to that rule. That is not the norm. So Lamb is a liability on defense. And then offensively, he had, I think, 1 game where he nailed like 6 out of 7 threes. But since then, and even before that, you haven't really seen much offensively. I don't see Lamb doing anything. And Mark Boland writes, Lamb is nervous. Maybe, I don't know. But whatever it is, I love him on the bench, but I don't want Moody and Kuminga losing minutes to Lamb. And Dylan, bring it, by the way, none of this is like, I'm not starting anything with you. I just wanted to correct you on that. So Elder D writes, trust the Golden State Warriors process. Let them decide how, when, and why. Yeah, I mean, they're doing great. They've won 4 titles. But I will say this, head coaches, professional athletes, they are susceptible to criticism, okay? I mean, that's just part of how this is. Like, it's Kerr's not perfect. No one is. Nobody's infallible on this planet. But I just love the fact that we're seeing more production coming out of Jonathan Kuminga, and hopefully we'll see the same with Moses Moody. A few random stats I want to throw out there real quick to wrap the show up. Only 4 teams in the Western Conference. This is courtesy of Locked On Network founder David Locke, who's also the radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Jazz. He tweeted out that only 4 teams in the West have a winning record versus teams above 500. In other words, only 4 teams in the Western Conference are actually playing decently against other winning teams. And those 4 teams are the Phoenix Suns, who are 8-3 against teams who are above 500. The Utah Jazz are 9-5. The Denver Nuggets are 8-5. And the Golden State Warriors are 6-4. So they are rising when it comes to better teams. And keep in mind, a huge reason why their overall record tanked the way it did is because of that 5-game road trip where, oh my God, that was just a disaster. But most of those teams were not above 500 teams. I mean, they lost to the Charlotte Hornets, Orlando Magic. I know the Pelicans were one of the good teams. I can't remember who the other 2 teams were on that trip now. But the point is, that road trip really marred their overall record, and they're playing good against good teams, which is huge. The head of PR for the Golden State Warriors, I make quite a few references to him on this show. Raymond Ritter, the best PR man in all of sports and maybe just all of everything related to PR. He tweeted out that Draymond Green is the first non-guard in Golden State Warriors history to have multiple 10-plus assist games while also having 0 turnovers in the same season. And that made me look it up. And sure enough, Draymond Green had no turnovers against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Neither, by the way, did JaMychal Green. Neither did Anthony Lamb. That was one positive of his from that game. Neither did Moses Moody in only 3 minutes of garbage time. And Kevon Looney in 22 minutes had no turnovers as well. But Draymond Green, no turnovers, 10-plus assists. He's done that multiple times in the same season. And he's the first non-guard in Warriors history to do so. So that's pretty impressive. Wanted to also throw out the Warriors starting 5. I'm sure a lot of you have heard this before, but just to reiterate it, they are far and beyond the best squad, the best 5 individual unit in the NBA. And I'm going to show this graph for the YouTube viewers here so you can see this visual for yourself. The offensive rating for the Warriors starting 5 is 133.5. So offensive rating is akin to like a QB rating in football, right? It takes a lot of different stats, puts it together. 133.5 is outstanding. Okay, it's damn close to record setting. And to put it in perspective for how dominant it is, the second best 5-man unit in the NBA is courtesy of the Denver Nuggets. Their offensive rating is 119. That's a huge gap. The Warriors also have a 27.6 net rating with this starting five, first in the NBA. The Warriors starting five is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And Mac, you are correct. 119 is the second best, courtesy of the Denver Nuggets. It's beautiful. So the point is, things have turned around. The Warriors are on the rise. And there's a lot more to come, folks. But December 10th is what I'm penciling in, what I'm circling on my calendar, because that Warriors Celtics game, it's going to be, again, I love the Saturday basketball and ABC is coming back. And the Warriors rise for a lot of those games. And this is going to be a big one, December 10th. Barkinelli writes, you talked about Kuminga playing and asked one thing. What if they put the young guns blind into games without doing the right reps, work on the problem areas, and then play them more? Well, yeah, that's what practice is for, Barkinelli. I mean, Kuminga's had some reps in the G League, so is Moody. But you can't just hide him there forever, and not to mention plenty of rookies in this game do fine with their reps coming with in-game work, right? Learn as you do. Draymond Green made a reference to this in regard to the Warriors youngsters just being in this really unusual predicament, whereas most lottery picks play for bad teams, but the Warriors' 3 lottery picks are part of a dynasty, right? So whereas most lottery picks are getting just a lot of minutes playing for bad teams, learning the process, again, learn as you do, the Warriors don't have that luxury to offer for Kuminga, Moody, and Wiseman, because again, they're pursuing championships. So the reps come again from practice. And this is where I do feel, and I forgot who mentioned this earlier in the show, that the more you play Kuminga, the more good things happen. Okay. He's proven himself. And Moses Moody started 2-3 games in the Mavericks series last year. I mean, these are kids who are part of a world championship team. I just don't see them hurting the Warriors. And who knows, maybe Kerr is using some sort of psychological warfare on these kids, but by not playing them, that's his method of lighting fire under him. I don't know. It's a mystery to me, but I'm just so relieved that Jonathan Kuminga is playing again. That's huge. See if there's anything else that I haven't addressed that I should address. And Elder D is correct. The Warriors don't have to lead the league in anything. They don't even have to win the division. They don't have to win any of that. All they have to do is just get in the playoffs. And then a 5th championship is there. Yeah, coast to coast. You and I were very much on the same page in today's show. JFR writes, do you think Draymond Green will stick around if we go back-to-back this year? Yes, I think no matter what, he's going to stick around, because he's going to, if he opts into the last year of his deal, this $27 million and change that he's going to get. And Draymond's value in the open market, as the kids like to say, is sus. It's like, who knows what he's going to actually get. I think he will opt in and play next year. Then we'll see what happens. Nick J writes, can you see Wiseman playing at all, playing all season in Santa Cruz? Yes. I actually think the model that Jordan Poole followed is what James Wiseman likely will experience as well, which is that he will spend the entire season in Santa Cruz, and then from there, hopefully he'll get some minutes for the Warriors, or at least he'll sit on the bench. And man, that 5th title, it's such a long ways away, but I just can't stop thinking about Stephen Curry's legacy if the Warriors get that 5th title. I mean, obviously Clay and Draymond, everyone's legacy will be just, out of this world. But when you talk about Steph, I mean, he leaps LeBron, he leaps Kobe. He's already left Larry Bird in my book. He leaps Tim Duncan. I mean, he's on the Mount Rushmore of all-time greats. He might even, depending on your argument, he might even pass Magic Johnson. So, yeah, man, Dylan, Steph is the GOAT, at least in the current era. I mean, Michael Jordan is my all-time GOAT, but Steph could be number 2 after this year. That's crazy. All right, folks. I just got back from Reno. Sorry for the late show today. By the way, I was visiting my dad. Thank you, everyone, for engaging, for participating. Always love it. And again, we'll have another live show tomorrow, right after the Warriors and the Mavericks. Coast to Coast writes, I'm sorry to say this, but Looney needs to figure a way to energize himself to play dominated defense. He's only, 27? I think he's actually 26, but he plays like he's 50. I think you say that because of his hip injuries. He does have a weird hitch to his run when he goes up and down the court. I think Looney's fine, though. I think he's doing fine. Thank you, everyone, again. And we'll be back tomorrow. Again, right after the Warriors-Mavericks game. Let's hope the Warriors get another W on the road. Should be an exciting game between two of the three MVP leaders early in the season, referring, of course, to Stephen Curry and Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum of the Celtics is probably that third guy for now. Still early in the season. Thank you, everyone. It's always a pleasure for me, and I can't appreciate you enough for joining the party and participating. And again, we'll be back tomorrow with Kyla Mills joining me. Thanks, everyone.